There he is.
We did it.
I'm sorry, Ray.
No,
Like, I didn't have a time. Do you know what time it is right now?
it's exactly 6:30 here, 9:30 for you. You're right on the nose.
All right, awesome. So listen, in a half hour, exactly 30 minutes, Instagram is going to kick us off.
Okay?
And you know, feel free to talk as long as you like, but if we're crushing it, I'd like you to come back on, okay? First and foremost, we never shook hands formally.
Nothing but
So
time.
I'm a huge fan of yours.
Thanks, man.
My name is Joe. I don't know if you know that, but I'm one of the co-creators of SopranosCon.
Right.
And I never really got to hang with you, but I know my wife Gina got to meet you, and thank you for coming on tonight. It's a blessing. How are you feeling? How's everything going for you?
Yeah, well, you know, we're in some pretty weird times right now, but I feel fortunate where I am. I have a little outdoors I could go to, so I'm not trapped. You know, I have friends in Manhattan that are just feeling so trapped through all of this thing. You know, they're living in apartment buildings. It's hard to get out. You know, they have to get in elevators. So I'm feeling really fortunate, but, you know, my heart.
Where are you at, right?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay, and you have a ranch out there or something?
No. I have a horse, but it's 5 minutes from here. I just have a tiny place right here. But yeah. So yeah, I wish I had a ranch.
Sorry, step back. I don't know what ranches cost out in LA, but
yeah,
didn't mean to. Yeah, I've seen your horse, so that's why I let in with that. But also, so you get a little bit of outside time. Yeah, it's got to be terrible for people in Manhattan. You see these pictures of Times Square. It looks like you've never seen it before. It looks like an apocalypse movie.
Yeah, you know, I have friends that live in Manhattan Plaza. You know, they're on 42nd Street, 42nd and 43rd, between 9th and 10th. Those big apartments. There's like 5,000 people in that square block, you know, and they all have to get in the elevators, and it's just they're feeling so much pressure and so much fear. It's horrifying. And I was just a month ago, I was just shooting a little film in Milan. I left Milan right before the shit hit the fan in Milan.
Oh wow, what they're going through over there.
It's horrible. I get a Instagram or a message or WhatsApp message 2 or 3 a day from my friends in Italy that just, you know, asking how I'm doing, but mostly they're just cooped up and scared, and you know, it's a very scary situation. But I know we're all going through this. We're all very aware of what's happening, but I'm sure that's not what everybody wants to talk about. But I guess you could.
No, yeah, I wanted to open. I wanted to see how you were doing, of course. But you know, it's one of those unique situations that we are going through together, like the whole country. You know, even when these things go on, sometimes it's like half or state or something like this is everybody. Right. Everybody's looking at it.
You know, I find it interesting because for like years, people were saying, you know, social media and texting and all that was alienating people because they were getting isolated from everybody else.
Practice.
Now this whole thing happened. It flipped everything upside down.
Oh yeah. What would happen without it, right? What would happen without it?
Now it's keeping everybody connected where people are feeling isolated. I'm getting notes from people in New York, people I don't even know, you know, fans of the show, whatever, saying, you know, I'm trapped in my apartment in Manhattan, and you know, you just chat with them a little bit, and it's like, you know, a little bit of the outside world, man. We need, you know, we're humans.
Yeah, so I think we, you know, in a weird way, I don't want to be that guy, but we needed it a little bit, right? Well, there's all these blurred lines going on in the world today, and no matter what you think or how you feel, we're all human. We all feel. We're all going through this together, and you know, it's about love, man. It's about love and respect for each other. You know, human beings first, man. Let's not think about what's, you know, who's this and who's that. At this time is when you're really like, you know what, we're all together.
Yeah, we're in this fight together. And the weird thing is that what we do really affects other people. You know, I saw one post that said, when you encounter people, act like you have the virus and you don't want to give it to them.
Yeah, it helps.
And that little twist is like, okay, you know, you're even more careful than, well, I won't get it, or, you know, it's an interesting little twist that maybe, and it also makes you a little bit more human and thinking about other people. So there you have it.
Truth. Cool. All right, so let's you know, let's talk about the show a little bit. I know anybody's here who's
what show is that?
What show is that? It's the Sopranos, this little show that came on HBO a couple 21 years ago.
It was a cable series, right?
Yeah, cable television. You know, my first question, I'm a huge fan. I think, you know, especially after seeing like that you're just a coherent person who has a brain, lets me know, lets me know that you're an excellent actor. How difficult was that for you? Oh, well, first of all, let me ask you, was that the only role that you auditioned for? Because I hear sometimes like people were like double dipping a little bit or got a role that they didn't think they were going to get. So is that the one that you went for?
No. That's an interesting question. I'm in LA, I live in LA, and they rarely cast anybody from LA. But my agent called and said they wanted me to put myself on tape for the part of the guy that did the intervention with Chrissy.
Oh,
right?
yes.
So I did that scene, and in those days, I can't believe it's so long ago, but in those days it was VHS. So you had to get a VHS camera, get it on tape, and then get it to FedEx to get it to New York by 4:30. So I auditioned for the part of the guy that does the intervention for Chrissy. And I thought I hit it out of the park. And then my agent calls me, you know, and says, nah, you didn't get it. And I thought, oh shit, I really thought I was going to get that. But they said, but he's going to keep you in mind for something in the future. And I thought, yeah, I can't, you know, that's a line you hear whenever you don't get a part. It's like, no, they like you, but for maybe something in the future. So like literally a week later, my agent calls and says, they want you to read for this part of Little Carmine. So okay, well, that's great, you know. So I read the breakdown of the character. It says, Little Carmine, anything but little, upwards of 350 pounds, sweating profusely with a twitching eye. And I'm thinking, I mean, David Chase is a genius, but, you know, why does, and so I called my agent. I said, you sure you have this right? This is not a role that I would play, you know? And they said, no, David specifically wants you to read for this part. So I thought, what am I going to do to make this mine? The guy's supposed to be, you know, big and fat and sweating and twitching, and I didn't know what to do. So I got the idea that he wasn't that bright. So I made the choice to say,
what?
When my wife and I went to Versailles with the Kingsley. So I said Versailles on my audition tape instead of Versailles.
Wow.
That's how I got the part.
Whoa, touchdown. That was a gem. I've never heard that before. Are you serious? So in the script of you're not allowed to change anything, you created your own character.
I just said Versailles.
In a sense.
I just said Versailles, and they kind of loved it, and they ran with it, and the rest, as they say,
is history.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, you were like, so this is, for me, like, you know, one of my favorite characters. You said some of the stupidest, silliest shit on that show that I've ever heard. I mean, and I'm terrible with the English language. Be honest, like my thing is like math and science, art.
You're doing very well.
Thank you. I know a couple tree words, but I'm not. You know, my wife would like that was so funny because like I mispronounce words all the time. So like when you hear Tony, and Tony does it a lot too in the show. You're not even close. I mean, maybe more than you. Maybe more than you.
It could be.
You say some silly shit, but he says some crazy. But that's how we are, right? Because you learn it from your family, and it's not necessarily school sometimes, right?
Exactly
but you're street smart, but you're not book smart. That whole shit, right?
But Little Carmine had this other little thing that he really did see himself differently than everybody else. I think he tried a little bit harder to see. Yeah,
it's very privileged, and he put himself out there in respect. He said so many words that he's going to make a mistake. Yeah. You know, he was trying so much stuff. Precipice of enormous crossroads, like, you know.
That's one of my favorite, the precipice of an enormous crossroads. But, you know, that's just a credit to the writers. I mean, Terry Winter and those guys. Terry Winter wrote a lot of the malaprops that I had. And they just ran
with that, right? That's what you're saying. Once you messed it up and they realized you weren't going to be 300 pounds and a twitching guy, they were like, let's just make this guy a fucking buffoon.
Yeah, but I think I don't want to take too much credit for it, but maybe I'm just saying that
it was there already.
When I said Versailles, that kind of
it was there already. They're like, oh, he doesn't need to be fat and twitching guy. He could just he could just be overprivileged.
Yeah.
What a great, you know, my favorite episode of you is, I think it's season, what is it? I'm going to look at my notes here. I think it's season 6. Yeah, season 6, episode 7, when you go to Hollywood, the luxury lounge.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Wait, I mean, what a great episode. I was having so much fun watching. I watched that more probably than a lot of other episodes because it's laughable, but there are those highs and lows what Chrissy's character is going through, and I mean, everything is a real fucking problem, but we're still laughing, right?
Yeah.
But it's a real problem. But like your lines are there are great. Just enjoy your success. Like you're there with Lauren Bacall. Okay, first of all, and Ben Kingsley. So what was that? Just give me a little snippet there. Like you're just showing up at this whatever it is, a poolside hotel.
I live in LA and we shot it up. Well, I'm just going to give you a little backstory. I don't remember what episode that was, but they made me move to New York because they made me a series regular on season 5, so I had to live in New York. So then I go to New York and I'm sitting there and I'm not in a bunch of episodes because they didn't always shoot in order. So I've got an apartment, I'm paying rent, spending way too much money, keeping my place in LA for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I'm not working and I don't get paid until I start to work. So all of a sudden I'm going crazy and it was like a hot summer. I'm not working. So then my agent calls, oh, they finally have an episode for you, Ray. Shoots in LA. They had to fly. I'm in New York for months. They had to fly me back to LA and put me up in a hotel 2 miles away from my house.
Oh my goodness.
Which is the hotel where we shot it. And then you get there and it's Ben Kingsley and Lauren Bacall. It's just, and working with Michael, I had so much fun working with Michael too. I think if you watch that scene when we're poolside, there's interaction between us that I just really, really cherish because there's all this stuff in between the lines that really I think filled out the story. And I hadn't worked with Michael much before those scenes, and it just felt really, really great. And Ben Kingsley, we were warned you have to call him Sir Ben. That's no bullshit. You have to call him Sir Ben.
Bullshit, really.
Yeah. So, and everybody said, don't talk to him if he doesn't talk to you and, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, shit.
It was completely the opposite. He was so relaxed. We were just bullshitting around. I mean, he was as with us as if he was just a regular schmuck like us. So it was really a great day. And then Lauren Bacall. I've been a fan of Lauren Bacall for forever. So,
Kind of how I feel right now, right?
Is that it?
You know what I mean?
You're saying I'm your Lauren Bacall?
Oh, you're my Lord. You're my Lord. You're my Sir Ben. I wouldn't put you.
Okay. I think you should call me Sir Ray. I like that.
Sir Ray.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just like, it's a brilliant episode. And it has a great part of your character that they really, they utilize you more. I think you're a great actor, man. I mean,
man.
Top notch. I mean, anybody I spoke to. So, one of the great things about me throwing this event is I just got to meet all the fucking actors that I love, right? Yeah. And somebody I'm very close to is Federico, and he's told me a lot about you, how great you are, and just what. Then I get to rewatch it and watch it as your craft, So I've always been such a fan. 30 times over, Ray. I've watched the show with my wife.
Wow.
Okay, but I've watched it again.
I remember your wife, by the way. She's lovely, really nice.
Thank you so much, Gina. Shout out to Gina Fama Instagram. So we're watching it now. We got to watch it with that perspective of like watching, and I get to appreciate it a little bit more, and just like I think there's just tiers to things. Like I'm not an actor like you. I'm so humbled that I get to speak to you right now, but I appreciate your skill and what you do, and getting to see it now again after I got to meet you is like now I get to break it down on a different level, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me, and I think it's a lot of fun for all the fans who got to go to SopranosCon to get to see you, get to see you in that room. Like, how did you feel about getting to see like that many people who like just knew who you were and just knew the lines?
They knew the lines, man. The lines people threw at me, they pulled out everyone. The big one. It's funny because everybody kept putting me together with Billy, played by Chris, and we never had any scenes together. But Billy's. So everybody always hit me with your brother Billy. Whatever happened there?
What happened? Everybody wanted me to say that to you. Of course, that's the number one. But
so,
I also feel like as many like you might have said some of the dopiest shit. Like let's just throw it out there. Like you just mix words up. But one of my most favorite scenes of the show is when you're talking to Tony at the golf course, and I think you have actually the most like coherent, most like heart-touching monologue of the whole show. I mean, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. Like it's the mellifluous box and what you have in it, it like as much as it grabs your soul while you're talking, you don't screw anything up. You sound intelligent when you're saying it, but most importantly, it's actually what I feel. Like I feel like life is not about money or this or that. It's about what you're happy about, what you love.
Exactly.
And for you to get to say that at that point of the seasons, like I thought that's just beautiful writing, but it's also like a beautiful tribute to your character and like what goes on in life, right? Like you had the street smarts and you lived the life with your father that as far as characters go, like you lived that life. So it didn't matter that you didn't, but at the end of the day, you knew what was right and you got to see it and you got to live that life.
And what was important in life. And it's what we're talking about now. It's family, it's love, and like that. And you know what's interesting? There's a guy on now named Carmine Lupertazzi who just went by. One of the guys' handles, Carmine Lupertazzi. Yeah, the thing about that scene is the important thing is how it affected Tony. If you watch it, there's a moment in his eyes where he's going, oh, there's something there. You know, I've always thought of this guy as an idiot, but something he's saying resonates with me. And then the very last scene, he almost echoes it to AJ. You know, he says, remember the things in life. He said, I don't remember the direct line, but when he's sitting at the table, you know, right before the end of the show, he says something like, you know, this is what's important. Remember the good times in life, which is pretty much echoing what little Carmine told him on the golf course. So yeah,
you brought him back.
He screwed up the words. Again, that was Terry Winters wrote that episode, and it's just, I always like to give a shout out to the writers. Terry and Matt Weiner, who wrote Mad Men, wrote the Luxury Lounge episode that you like. That was his first episode. Was Luxury Lounge on the show. So.
Right. Let me ask you, what was like the laugh out loud funniest moment of like when you were just hanging out? Maybe it was filming or just one of those cuts that everybody just was dying. Give me one of those?
Well, there's a few. I've told this story before, so somebody may have heard it. But one of my favorite scenes is when I take Jimmy Tony to go see Uncle Phil, and you know, with the
talking house.
Yeah. You know, hat in hand on bended knee, you know, after we had that alteration with Phil. So we're at the door, and the camera's on me, and Butchie's off camera, and Jimmy's standing kind of over my shoulder. And while I'm talking to Butchie trying to get in, Jimmy's hand was on my ass, off camera. So while I'm talking, he was just casually just cupping my ass, and I had to try to keep a straight face while I'm talking to Butchie to try to get in. So for some reason, obviously for an important reason, that moment, I could.
Yeah. So we just wrote Uncle Philly my ass. You actually said that, Uncle Philly my ass. He says it to you, Uncle Philly my ass.
Uncle Philly my ass. If he only knew. Yeah.
How much fun did you have with I can't call him Jimmy, I didn't know him, but how much fun did you have with Mr. Gandolfini? You
know, he was. The thing about him is he was like a character actor. He was like me. You know, I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been on, you know, lots of TV shows, guest starring, just plugging along, and, you know, you just play different characters. And the thing about Jimmy, he was just like a character actor, you know.
He worked hard at it, right?
I call him like blue-collar actors. We're the blue-collar actors. We're not the stars. But Jimmy was just a blue-collar actor that happened to be the biggest fucking star in the history of television, on the biggest show in television. But he was still the working class blue collar actor underneath it all. And he was a talented actor, and he was a giving actor. You know, I've said this before too. If you have a favorite actor on the show that's not Jimmy, and you have a scene of theirs that you think is one of their best scenes, I guarantee it's with Jimmy, because he made you better. You know, like that, especially that scene, even that scene that we were just talking about. You're on the precipice of an enormous crossroads. I remember he was just glaring at me across that table, and I'm just trying to calm him down and say, we've got to do this. And it just made it so much easier because he was throwing so much back at me, even without the lines, just there, just there. He was an actor. He was an actor's actor, and he was generous, and he, you know, what can I say? You know, there's never a time where you run into another guy that's been on the show where you don't have a moment of saying, you know, Jimmy.
No, I haven't heard it. I mean, I ran through everybody so far, and everyone just like, he's the kindest, most gentlest, but he's a hard worker too. Like, he was still doing all the dialect lessons, and
He
You
worked
know,
with
he was like the Kobe Bryant of acting. Like he was the Mamba mentality. He didn't let it
exactly right.
stop. It's amazing. And you know, and like that's what they say, only the good die young sometimes. And sometimes you like, I mean, you know, Ray, you're a good guy too, but you know, there's something special about the way he made everyone else feel. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you heard it before he had passed, right?
Yes.
Like you
Yeah.
heard
Oh,
it about
absolutely.
his
Yeah.
generosity
It wasn't some
and
kind of
his soul.
bullshit. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
he was a very generous guy throughout the whole thing. I mean, if ever you went out with him, you know, I'm not going to say I hung out with him personally, you know, but we'd be at events or we were shooting down at Miami because my first scene, I had never met anybody, an actor, a casting director, a wardrobe person. I'm in LA, and Narducci's texting me, um, and so I go down to
Hi,
Florida,
Catherine.
and now I'm sitting down. My first scene is across the table with him at the Fontainebleau Hotel, so it was pretty.
Wow.
It was intimidating, you know, because I didn't know anybody, and but he was just, like I said, he was an actor's actor, and when you're just sitting down with him, as intimidated as I was, once they said action, it was just two actors working. And, you know, we happened to have studied the same way with the same teachers in New York. So I didn't find that out till after he passed away, as it turns out. So we had, similar ways of working and understanding characters and relating to each other. So, but he was just, you know, he was the guy that should have been there for that show, and he was. And none of us, you wouldn't be sitting where you are right now.
Not even close, man. Not even close.
If it wasn't for Jimmy Gandolfini, you never met him,
no.
But you're sitting where you are because of him, right? So,
I know you're right. I know you're right.
I know I am.
It humbles me every day to just think about how somebody like that can make an impact that much further, over and over again for years and years, and it's not going to stop. Honestly,
no, it's not.
It's not going to stop. Like now, he's got a legacy that'll live forever, and plus he created life too. He's got a son and daughter, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When I met his little daughter, I met his little daughter.
Great picture, Ray. By the way, great picture. That's in front of my mural I made. Yeah.
That mural. Well, I gave you a shout out on stage. That mural was.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Was just mind blowing, and I literally just happened to be walking past to look at the mural, and and Jimmy's wife was there, and his two sisters, and then I didn't realize who the little girl was, and then Jimmy's wife says, "Oh, this was a friend of Daddy's," and then I realized that this was his daughter because at the funeral, you know, she was in his wife's.
So little, yeah.
She was 8
Baby,
months old.
right?
I think she was 8 months old.
Thank you to Michael Mata for that. He really pulled that all together.
Yeah. Oh, he did. He
really, he made sure that was a big point of it. I mean, we didn't want people to think like this was a profit grab, you know, like this event was very a fan, by the fans, for the fans. You know, we put our heart and soul. I put my business into it. We all did. All of us did. And we didn't want anybody to think anywise else because, you know, listen, we don't want to profit off these guys. We wanted to get together, right? So we made sure that Jimmy was on full display between the artwork, and we had a live muralist come in there. You know, there was no we spared no expense, as they say on the show.
It was pretty amazing. And you talk about being a fan. The thing about the actors on that show, we were all fans. You know, I didn't come on to season 4, and it's like you realize you're walking into one of the greatest shows in the history of television. And you know, I was just a fan of Jimmy's. I think Edie is one of the
outstanding.
I've seen her on stage several times. She literally, sometimes she's so real, I have trouble watching. It breaks my heart. She's just.
Well, she has trouble watching herself, as she says. She really has never watched the show.
I know. She told me that recently. I was like, I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Imagine that.
But when I remember when Alabama 5 was playing the song on stage, I'm sure you saw that. That was when we were all dancing and they're playing the theme song. It was that moment. I was just purely a fan, almost forgetting that I was ever on the show. What
about Dominic singing? I mean, I thought that was.
Well, we've heard Dominic. You know, he's sung.
No, you've heard it. Yeah, you're spoiled already. Right? I lost it. I was like
It always breaks your heart. You know, it brings me back to my childhood. You know, I grew up in New York, an Italian-American family. And, you know, inevitably at any wedding or something, there was a Dominic there who would get up and sing those old Italian songs.
Put the fedora on.
Yeah, as a kid, we didn't appreciate it so much. But when I watched him that day, I was with Carl Capitordo, you know, little Paulie. And we were just sitting like in the front row when when he was singing and Dominic was singing, and I mean, we just lost it. I mean, it was our grandparents, it was everything we ever knew. It was the old country. It was Dominic, and it was all the memories that we shared, all right there. So yeah, that was pretty powerful, very powerful.
And I'm touched, man. I'm so grateful that you came on. I'd like to see if anybody has any questions for the man, the myth, the legend here. Anybody want? Right next to the comments, there's a little question mark there. You can throw your question up. I may have missed some, so I've been in depth looking into Ray's eyes. Sorry, Ray. You know, this is it's surreal because it's like, you know, I'm a monster fan. This show is crafted my life, and then it's also now crafted my career. And
wow.
So it's like when I just get to hang, it's like, you know, I'm lost. You know, I definitely had a little anxiety today coming up to this, and it's like, you know, we're chopping the shit, and I'm like, I'm lost right now. So I'm sure something came through.
Yeah, you did great. Thanks. What was the question here?
Let me see if I got a solid question. Anybody got something?
Right. What projects are you working on now? Well, with what's going on, it's one of the few times in my life I could say, yeah, no, I'm not working, and it's not my fault. You know, it's like nobody's working. But there's a movie coming out on HBO called Bad Education. I think it premieres April 25th with Hugh Jackman, Allison Janney, Ray Romano. And I got to play Allison Janney's husband in that movie. And that's April 25th. It's not a big part, but I got to work with an Academy Award winner, Allison Janney. And she's also at that Edie Falco kind of, wow, just so good. So that's one that's coming up. And I did a movie with Joey Pants. Joe, you know, I've known Joey Pants for 35, 40 years. And we did a movie 2 years ago in West Virginia, believe it or not, where we played brothers after all these years. So that's called The Feast of the Seven Fishes. You can find that streaming somewhere. Small little independent film, but a sweet film about an Italian-American family in West Virginia, which I didn't even realize that in these coal mining towns, there are really a lot of Italian-Americans living there. I had no idea since the 1800s.
Yeah, there was a lot of people who moved down into West Virginia. I mean, there were, you know, obviously Italian-American immigrants that moved to this country were hardworking, and when the buildings stopped getting built, that's where they went. And
well, a lot of them, West Virginia, they came from Calabria because the topography is very, that's a word even little Carmine might have used.
Good job.
It's very similar to Calabria there, and there were coal miners, and a lot of them were miners in Calabria, so that's what they were. They went there to be coal miners. They were brought there to coal mine. So, and they're
very cool.
They're still there. Yeah.
All right, so Ray, this hour is ending up. I didn't want it to just end on like, you know, one of those weird faces of someone who was saying something. You crushed this half hour. If you wanted to come and hang out a little bit longer, we're here. It's on you.
Okay. Well. So we lose.
Keep it going. I mean, it's gonna get lost, and I'm just gonna jump back on it. I'd love to keep talking to you.
Well, I was just about, you know, it's 6:30 here. So, I mean, it's 7 o'clock here, so I'm
getting hungry.
Have a little dinner. But if you do this again another time, well, you know, you know how to.
Of course.
Me. And thanks everybody for watching. And yeah, Calabria, I've been there. I was there. I shot a little film in Calabria too. It's beautiful. All right, man. I appreciate it. You do good work.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, brother.
All right, take it easy, man.